Thrones is undoubtedly the biggest show in the world right now. George R.R. Martin not only gave us an incredible storyline but also introduced us to dragons. Before Game of Thrones got all popular in India, our only exposure to dragons was when we saw them painted outside those cheap Chinese food joints. But Drogon, Viseriyon and Rhaegal were in the first dragons in the Game of Thrones universe. So where did it all begin? How did Targaryens tame these mighty beasts? You're watching #trending on BG Official, and this video shall tell you everything you need to know about the dragons of the Game of Thrones universe. We need to fly back in time to around 8,000 years before the Song of Ice and Fire started. For those of you who aren't aware what the Song of Ice and Fire means, it is where the series of Game of Thrones begins. So around 8,000 years before the Song of Ice and Fire, Westeros was just recovering from the long night. But in Essos, the men of the Valyrian Peninsula were busy mastering the art of bonding and riding the dragons. It is said that a clan of sheep herders first saw dragons in the 14 Fires. 14 Fires is a place in Valyria which is said to have a chain of volcanoes. It is also said that the first of dragons were tamed using magic spells. Soon the men of Valyria were able to ride the dragons and use it to gain influence in their area. Having said so, dragons cannot exactly be tamed but can be bonded with and trained to respond to certain voice commands. This led to the establishment of the Valyrian freehold, and Valyria became their capital. With dragons by their side, the Valyrians realized that they can conquer whatever they wanted to. The first conquest was of the old empire of Gis, which was then considered as the greatest empire in all of Essos. Needless to say, Valyrians won this battle because of their dragons. After 5 grueling battles, they burned the entire city of Gis with dragon fire. The Valyrians rode their dragons for thousands of years and ended up dominating half of the known world in the Game of Thrones universe. Around 400 years before the Song of Ice and Fire, the infamous Doom of Valyria took place and ended up the glorious empire to nothing but ruins. It is said that the volcanoes in the 14 Fires exploded at once and consumed the city of Valyria within a single day. However, 12 years before the Doom, the Targaryens had migrated to Westeros after a prophetic dream was seen by Daenerys, who was Lord Aenar Targaryen's daughter. Lord Aenar left all his belongings back in Valyria and settled in Dragonstone. This is where the reported history of dragons begin. The early dragons in Westeros. The Targaryens carried 5 dragons with them, out of which 4 died, leaving behind dragon eggs. 2 of these eggs hatched, and Targaryens had 3 dragons which were used in the first major event involving dragons, the conquest of Aegon Targaryen, which dates back 300 years before the Song of Ice and Fire. Aegon, along with his sister Rhaenys and Visenya, invaded Westeros and built the capital city of King's Landing. Balerion the Black Dread. Aegon rode Balerion the Black Dread, who was the largest dragon ever known and was over 200 years old at the time of his death. It is fabled that when he flew, his shadow would cover the entire town below it. It is believed that the Iron Throne was forged under his breath. He was black in color and had red highlights. No wonder Daenerys believes that Drogon is a reincarnation of this legendary beast. Balerion died during the reign of King Jaehaerys due to old age. As for the other 2 dragons, Rhaenys rode Meraxes during the conquest, while Visenya rode Vhagar. Meraxes. It is said that Meraxes was so big that it could swallow a full-grown horse. Meraxes and Rhaenys both died in dawn after a scorpion hit Meraxes, and the dragon had a terrible landing, killing both herself and her rider. Vhagar. Vhagar was the smallest when compared to Balerion and Meraxes, but it was still a dragon and could melt metal armor with ease. Vhagar later served to Prince Aemon Targaryen and was killed during the Dance of the Dragons by another dragon called Caraxes. This brings us to the next major event involving dragons that took place around 170 years before the Song of Ice and Fire, and this event was the infamous Dance of the Dragons, where Aegon II and his half-sister Rhaenyra went into war to decide the successor to the Iron Throne. It is said that this war killed the most of the remaining dragons. Sunfire. Aegon II rode Sunfire, who died suffering from the wounds of this very war. Sunfire was also called as Sunfire the Golden and had a crippled wing. Despite this, he shares a spot for the highest dragon vs dragon kill count, tying up with the legendary Vhagar. Syrax. Rhaenyra rode on a dragon called as the Syrax, which she named herself after a Valyrian goddess. Syrax was huge and formidable with yellow scales. Syrax too lost her life during this war. Caraxes. This brings us to Caraxes, which was ridden by Prince Aemond. Caraxes was a huge dragon with red scales. He was also called as the Blood Wim. He was the most experienced dragon of this war. Despite killing Vhagar, he suffered severe injuries which eventually took his life. Meleys. Meleys was the ride of Rhaenys Targaryen. She was also called as the Red Queen, and she was the reason behind the crippled wing of Sunfire. But soon after she broke Sunfire's wing, she was killed. While the Dance of the Dragons was still on, an angry mob of small folk stormed into the dragon pit and killed 5 dragons including Shrykos, who was bound to Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen, Morgul, who was bound to Princess Jaehaera Targaryen, Tyraxus, who was bound to Prince Joffrey Valyrian, and Dreamfire, who was bound to Princess Rhaena Targaryen. Other dragons which died in this war were Arrax, which was ridden by Prince Lucerys Velaryon, Seasmoke, which was ridden by Adam of Hull, Stormcloud, which was ridden by Aegon Targaryen III, Vermax, which was ridden by Jacaerys Velaryon, and Verithor, which was ridden by Hugh Hammer. Only 4 dragons could survive the Dance of the Dragons, which include Sheepstealer, which was ridden by Nettles, and Silverwing, which was ridden by Ulf the White. The Doom of Valyria and the Dance of the Dragons have said to have erased the constructive history and lineage of the dragons. With now only 2 dragons alive and 1 undead, let us see if there are any more surprise dragons or dragon eggs in the episodes to come. Remember, you saw this on BG Official. Thanks for watching.